the San Agustin Church of Ilocos Sur, the Banawe Rice Terraces, the Miag-Out Church of Iloilo, the Puerto Princesa Subterranean River, the historic city of Vigan, the Tubataha Reef. These are designated by UNESCO as World Heritage Sites in the Philippines. Aside from that, we also have many natural heritage and cultural properties in the Philippines, both tangible and intangible. And from this, we can see that culture and heritage are indeed a reflection of our national identity. However, it can be observed that the vulnerability of our cultural heritage has been one of the pressing issues that our country is actually facing today. Based from the research conducted by ICOMOS, or International Council on Monuments and Sites, the following are some of the identified risks that threaten our cultural heritage. Number 1, we have the lack of recognition, leading to lack of legal protection. 2, fragility of traditional materials and loss of traditional building skills. 3, ownership changes or confusion and loss of function leading to lack of maintenance. And 4, abandonment or imposed modernization leading to neglect. For example, in the Philippines, the Rizal Coliseum in Manila, an Art Deco-styled sport complex built in the early 1930s, was actually under the threat of being demolished in exchange for a new commercial establishment. Had it not been for the SEA Games last year, it could not have been restored. Another case would be the destruction of Huluga Archaeological Site in Cagayan de Oro City, which is a very significant pre-colonial site in northern Mindanao due to road and bridge construction. So these are a few examples of cultural heritage that were ignored or compromised for the sake of progress and development in the community. But it is also important to note that preserving our culture and heritage is actually an indispensable element in keeping our integrity as a people. In fact, it is indicated in our 1987 Philippine Constitution, to be specific in Article 14, Sections 14 to 17, the protection and conservation of our cultural heritage. It is also further reinforced by laws such as the Republic Act 186, and most importantly, the National Cultural Heritage Act of 2009, also known as Republic Act 166. An act providing for the protection and conservation of the national cultural heritage. Now, under it, in Article 5, Section 14, there is actually a need to produce and maintain an inventory of cultural properties. That's why we have the so-called Philippine Registry of Cultural Property, or in short, PRECAP, a repository of all information pertaining to the cultural properties in the Philippines. Now the question would be, why do we need to establish a registry or inventory? Accordingly, it plays a crucial role in number 1, identifying and providing information on available cultural resources in the country which can be used by the public, land use planners, property owners, developers, and tourism industry, and even educators. Number 2, increasing awareness and understanding of cultural heritage, especially in local communities. And number 3, facilitating the protection, preservation, and conservation of cultural property. That's why an inventory is very important. Now, in doing this, the National Commission for Culture and the Arts, as the overall policy-making coordinating agency for culture and arts in the Philippines, has introduced and established cultural mapping as primary means in coming up with an inventory. Now, according to Philae in his Cultural Mapping, a guide to understanding place, community, and continuity, identifying and recording of cultural assets use a systematic tool or approach called as cultural mapping, which encourages community involvement with knowledge gain and use it to inform collective strategies, planning processes, and other initiatives. This systematic tool, as a matter of fact, has been recognized by UNESCO and is widely used all throughout the world as an approach and technique in identifying and safeguarding one's cultural assets. This, in effect, will create expanded economic opportunities and inclusive participation of people towards sustainable development. The heritage cities of Vigan, Cebu, Marikina, Valenzuela, and the provinces of Laguna Nueva Vizcaya are just among few places of the country that already conducted this. Now, for quite some time, Iligan City has overlooked the importance of coming up with an inventory of cultural properties. Remember that we have Republic Act 166, and through this, the Department of Interior and Local Government or DILG released a Memorandum Circular 2017-133 mandating all local government units for the submission of an inventory of local cultural properties. In fact, if we browse the NCCA website under the pre-cap, we can see that Iligan failed to submit an inventory for years. And it is for this reason that the History Department of MSU IIT initiated a project as a response to this immediate need. Maayong Iligan ka natong tanan, I am Mr. J. De Los Santos, the project leader, together with my members from the History Department, will present our extension known as the Iliganong Kabilin, a cultural mapping project with SO number 00862, approved last May 2019 and extended until January of next year. So again, this extension project is in partnership with LGU Iligan, emphasizing the importance of heritage and allowing the community to discover the resources that contribute to the city's unique environment and qualities. This partnership with LGU Iligan provides technical assistance and support to the local officials and even to the community in compliance with the said mandate and laws. The objectives as well as the stages or the framework of this study are as follows. Number 1, which is to train and inform the local government and other stakeholders about the concept and the basics of cultural mapping. Number 2, to identify and document the available cultural properties of Iligan City. 3, to produce an inventory or registry of local cultural properties. And 4, to disseminate information to all stakeholders in the locality. And lastly, which is to recommend policy for the management and conservation of the local cultural properties. Now, let's proceed to our activities conducted. On August 17, 2019, at MSU IIT, the department actually conducted an orientation with the local officials of the participating barangays, namely the Barangay Boroon, Maria Cristina Suarez, Titukalan, Kiwalan, Dalipuga, Bunbonon, Santiago, Tambakan, Poblacion, Palao, Mahayahay as our pilot barangay. The orientation basically aims to inform the participants on the basics of cultural mapping, the role of the local government units, and the policies and laws on heritage protection in the Philippines. After the lecture, the participants were able to identify and came up with an initial list of cultural properties in their respective barangays, of course through the guidance and in consultation with the resource speakers. And from this, they produced a sample list. So these are the example of the list. So we have the cultural properties identified by them. It is also stated here its type, whether tangible or intangible, year established or age, if it is a person or intangible, the description, the significance, the exact location, and the issues or challenges that these cultural properties identified by the officials encountered. So these were then subjected to validation. So these are the example of the list of the participating barangays. So again, the list or the initial list were subjected to validation. So from October to December 2019, faculty members together with the history students conducted ocular visits, oral interviews, and took pictures or videos of the cultural properties. From this, data or information about the identified properties were then recorded and gathered alongside with the issues and challenges it encountered. For the months of January and February 2020, data collected from the field research were then collated and subjected to a vetting process before they are included into the inventory. Initially, the following are few examples of the identified cultural properties in the city. We have the Old Barliti Tree in Barangay de Tocalan, an old house in Barangay Bonbonon, Dandasan Ancestral House in Barangay Dalipuga, Tartanilla in Barangay Tambakan, City Hall, and the Anahaw Amphitheater in Barangay Palao. And of course, we have the Maria Cristina Falls, the Makaraig Rest House in Barangay Boroon, the Public Plaza in Barangay Poblacion, the Luch Ancestral House in Barangay Palao. So at this moment, the project is still on the process of validation and drafting of inventory. For the months of March and August, the project has not able to continue its activities and tasks due to the policies and protocol in containing the virus. But once done, the output of this project, which is an inventory, will be provided to the LGU Iligan. And then the LGU Iligan will conform to the requirements provided by the NCCA. Another thing would be this project will recommend policy for the management and conservation of local cultural properties to the LGU. And this can also be used by researchers, especially for history students, for their future local researches. So that would be all for our extension project, the Iliganong Kabilin, a cultural mapping project. Thank you and God bless.